This video is sponsored by Manta Sleep. Ironic, isn't it? Before Frederick Charles Krueger, yeah, I'm using your government name, you freaky frog, was a Halloween costume for children or an 80s pop culture icon. He was a brittle, burnt bastard in a Christmas sweater with blades for fingers and beef with the REM cycle. A Nightmare on Elm Street is a 1984 supernatural slasher written by one of the grandfathers of horror, the late, great Wesley Malcolm Jamal Craven. See my People Under the Stairs video for the reference. Starring Heather Langenkamp, John Saxon, Ron Burkley, Johnny Depp in his film debut, and Robert Englund as the Dream Demon himself. Filming on June 11th through July 13th, just 32 days of filming, the final project was released a short 4 months later on November 16th on a $1.1 million budget, and the film grossed $57 million at the worldwide box office, successfully saving the production company New Line Cinemas from bankruptcy and gaining the company its name, The House That Freddy Built. If you have never actually seen any of these films, you pretty much know the premise already. It's a man in a very recognizable outfit slashing teenagers in their sleep because of the sins of their parents. There was nothing like him at the time. You know, all of these, the first ones that come to mind is obviously, you know, Michael and Jason. Even the B-horror stuff, like all of these killers were just, you know, they had a mask on or they were silent or they were off camera. But Freddy was, not only was he on camera, but he was talking, he was verbal, he was throwing jokes. Like, this was fresh. Truly, I don't think that there will ever be another Freddy Krueger. Like, well, obviously we will have in time some very iconic horror villains. I feel like the most popular one in recent times is Art the Clown, right? In Terrifier. But I mean, as far as a cultural icon like that, I don't think anybody's gonna replicate this. This is my favorite horror franchise right after Scream, and yes, like most franchises, not all of them are good. They really go off the rocker, but like at the end of the day, like these movies are fun. You know, I'm sitting here editing and I can't believe that I did not bring this up. It's not important. It's just information that I felt like I always wanted to put in this video. I knew I was going to make a video about the first one at some point, and I'll do a few of the others in time, but no, I never talked about like my own personal feelings towards Freddy. Most of my childhood, I was kind of scared of him up until I honestly, like, I'm telling you, I say this a lot, like with the film thing, and if you have seen some of my other videos, I've said that the age of 14 was really when cinema just really like clicked in my head for me, and when I really started getting into it and, you know, watching, you know, 80s comedies, whatever. It was somewhere around the age of 13 where something just clicked, and I was like, on some real shit, like, I'll smack the out this nigga, stop playing with me. You think you gonna come up in my dream and mess? No, chief, we don't play like that. Come around and get smoked. What are you talking about? What is he talking about? I'm gonna conjure up a blah. I don't want to go too much into the psychology of the premise yet. I want to save that for my take that I always do at the end. But yeah, man, these are all comfort movies for me. And I'm excited to talk about the original with you. So make sure your booby traps are set and ready to go. Fix that cup of coffee and do whatever you need to do to stay awake. Because tonight, we're staying on Elm Street. I have to say, I love the original New Line Cinema logo. It should be brought back. It's so 80s, so tight. The film starts off with cuts of a stinky man in a dirty sweater boiler room, doing cute arts and crafts, making a hand glove with knives as fingers. He going places for sure, that's all I know. I bought his collection off of Etsy. This shit is hot, right?
Shit is hot, right?
His claws rip through a piece of fabric just as our first character, Tina, appears. She's wearing a white gown, which immediately tells us that she's in a dream. Her run is really taking me out. Like, everybody in this movie, the way that everybody runs is so, y'all are not serious. Y'all not being serious. And stop looking behind you. We hear the voice of a man in the distance whispering Tina's name. Tina. Then a lamb runs out of nowhere. It's getting weird. I read this was a nod to the phrase, like a lamb to the slaughter, which originates from the Bible, meaning that innocent and helpless creatures are unknowingly in danger. What was that? The film's main score is fabulous. What can I say, right? Charles Bernstein designed the complete soundtrack. It's just full of synthesizers, stingers. There's a lot of stingers in there. Yeah, it's good stuff. I used to, back when I worked retail, I used to listen to the soundtrack at like 6 o'clock in the morning. Swear to God, I'm being so serious. It would be 6 o'clock in the morning. I would have one of my AirPods in and, you know, just casually listening to the Elm Street theme. Run Nancy, Lurking, Night Stalking, Rod Hanged, all the titles. I remember all the titles and I still play it. I think I have every single track on that album saved on my Spotify. Any whore, where are we? Oh yeah, skinny Tina is screaming in front of this fireplace because this creepy ass man keeps stalking her. Now, we don't know it yet, or at least the original audience didn't, but this is Frederick. Tina jolts awake and Mama checks on her, but TT is like, I'm good girl, it was just a dream. That's some dream though, because her gown is ripped. The hell? Her mother tells her to cut her fingernails, but ain't no fingernails doing all that. Tina grabs her crucifix just as we hear that little jingle we all heard in our childhoods. Yes. Memories. And we see the little white girls in the hood are jumping rope, so it's time to dip, y'all. The camera pans and we meet our main cast of homies, Greaser Rod, Glenn, and the diva doll, Nancy. Tina is telling them all about her spooky dream and her boyfriend Rod says,
I had a heart on this morning when I woke up, Tina. Had your name written all over it.
There's 4 letters in my name, Rod. How could there be room on your joint for 4 letters?
And okay, Nancy and Glenn are basically telling her to chill out because I think we all get bad dreams. Like, okay, Victoria Justice. That night, Nancy and Glenn stay over Tina's house for comfort, supporting her since her mother is leaving town for 2 days. They get her to laugh and briefly Nancy's like, see, I told you would feel better. But Tina confesses she's been seeing the strange man's face all day at school and hearing those fingernails. So Nancy says, fingernails? That's crazy because that made me remember the dream I had last night. No, because y'all tried to act like my girl was losing her mind. And now you're talking about you hearing the same thing. Don't piss me off. Nancy says she dreamt about a guy in a dirty red and green sweater. Tina says they dreamt about the same creep, but Glenn says that's impossible. There's suddenly a sound outside, a screeching. They all go outside and Big Buff Daddy says, I'm gonna punch out your ugly lights, whoever you are. I want you to remember that. Like, okay, Twink. It's just Rod playing too much. He's got a gardening tool he used to imitate the sound. And he says, what's going on here, an orgy or something? No, your funeral. And Rod pulls out the classic 80s switchblade. Can we bring these back? Nancy clarifies it's just a sleepover for the girls and Glenn was leaving. But Rod snatches Tina up saying they're going to sleep in her mother's bed. And the squares got the rest. Glenn tries to get freaky with Nancy, but she reminds him they're here for Tina. And like any horny teenage boy, he gets pissed. Later in the night, he's on the sofa and we can hear Tina and Rod getting it in. When they finish, they both agree to no more fights, and Rod makes a passive statement saying, good, no more nightmares for either one of us then. Again, everybody was acting like, you know, she was just losing her mind, but now all of y'all are magically saying that y'all was dreaming about the same man. This is the shit I'm talking about. While Nancy is trying to get some sleep, the crucifix above the bed falls. Nancy, you better start praying. Cast that out. In the parents' bed, Tina wakes hearing screeching out her window, but Rod isn't waking up, so she checks for herself. There's a crack on the window and we hear a voice whispering, Tina. Who do you think you are? Tina says. Oh, she gangsta now. She done had enough. Above Nancy, Frederick starts moving through the walls. Girl, I told you to start praying. I don't even want to give that 2010 remake that disgrace to humanity. I don't want to give that any attention right now, but you know, when I look at the scene versus what they did in that one, like, babe, that is a slap. That is a slap in the face to Wesley. You know, here we have something so simple, so incredibly effective. The special effects designer Jim Doyle made a hole in the wall and stretched a sheet of spandex, then pushed his face and hands through it. Can we spell DIY? Innovative. And if you don't remember, or if you haven't seen it, let me remind you what the remake did.
Move this man!
I cannot stand CGI. Nancy briefly wakes back up, sticks the cross back up, and knocks on the wall to make sure she ain't tripping. Meanwhile, Tina goes outside. Why? I don't know, because I would have turned the light on and stayed I would have read a book. Fuck that. She walks all the way out in the back street and catches Frederick's shadow by a fence, and this is the first time we see his face. I'm not much of a fan on the look of Freddy in the first film. I personally think that he looked the best in the second film. He had this witchy, slightly creature-esque look, but runner-up to Dream Warriors.
Tina! Tina, don't think you can get by Freddy.
And one of the worst effects in this movie, and it was acknowledged in the 4-hour-long Never Sleep Again documentary where they had talked about every single film in the franchise. It was this effect with his arms like walking through the alley, and I guess in theory it sounded creepy, but this just looked silly. There were two guys on each side of the alley with fishing poles that operated the puppet arms attached to Robert.
Please, God.
This is God.
Ah, that's history.
Then this Joker starts chasing her down the alley. He teleports in front of her, she runs back into her yard, he starts hopping behind trees. Magic. And speaking of magic, he shows her a little trick, slicing his finger off, making green pus come out. It reminds me of Demon Knight with light-skinned baby daddy Billy Zane, which I've also done a video on. Give it a watch. Very underrated horror film. Tina and Fred go rolling on the ground. She smushes his face, which comes off with this silly looking skeleton underneath. And next thing you know, in the real world, she's thrashing under the covers, making Rod actually wake up this time. We see Fred over top of her in the dream world, but when Rod snatches the cover off the bed, she's alone. One of my all-time, this is like a top 3, and I'm not talking about this franchise, I'm talking about across the entire genre. Tina's chest is slashed and her body starts levitating. I mean, for 1984, who was doing it like this? Who was doing it like this? Her body starts swinging around the room, knocking Rod over. She goes sliding up the wall, then on the ceiling, just screaming. This scene of Amanda Wiss thrashing across the ceiling is famously known for its practical use of a rotating room set, which was slowly spun to allow her to roll into position. There wasn't any money in the budget for mechanical hydraulics, so the rolling had to be done by hand, and everything inside, the props, the cameras, the lighting, had to be carefully balanced. They had the camera bolted to the wall and the cameraman strapped into a chair beside it. For the two shots where Rod and Tina reach for one another, Tina is actually the one on the floor, and Rod's the one that's upside down, with his hair pasted down. It's great filmmaking, and it was so good that just before shooting began, Amanda had gotten vertigo.
I look up and there's the bed above me. Completely freak out, I get complete and utter vertigo and I start to feel that I'm falling. Wes's head comes through this hole in the floor and he's like, look, I am standing on the floor, this is my head. You're on the floor, you're looking right at me.
Amanda, this is down, this is up, this is down, this is up, just before the take.
When Nancy wakes up hearing Tina's final scream, it's too late because she drops on the bed and she's gone.
Take one. Three. Marker.
No!
Wait.
And action.
Come on, Scotty.
Extend your hand. Wave goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. As far as okay, good.
The remake with the character of Chris, who is, for whatever reason they changed Tina's name to Chris, does not hold a candle to this scene.
Found you.
I can't take this seriously. When Tina and Glenn get inside the room, all they see is blood everywhere, and I mean everywhere. The window is busted and Rod is nowhere in sight. I mean, how do you even process something like this? Imagine staying over your best friend's house and this happened. Like, therapy for a year, maybe a few years. We cut and meet 1980s gem John Saxon. This man is so handsome. I was thirsting over him when I covered Black Christmas. As a matter of fact, every time I see him, first I think about Elm Street, but I immediately also think about him playing the detective in that movie. He plays Nancy's father, Donald Thompson. The cop he's walking with is telling him about Tina Gray, whose father abandoned her 10 years ago. And naturally, Rod Lane, the boyfriend, is suspect number one. He's the musician type. He's got arrest for drugs, brawling. It's not looking good. In the office, we meet Marge, Nancy's mother. Look at my cheek, got tissue damp from the tears, just stressed the hell out. Donald and Marge are divorced, and though they don't say it, it's like the blanks are filled in based off of some of their lines. And the parent Nancy lives with is her mother. Donald's going off because Nancy was shacking up with 3 teens late at night, and more importantly, with a lunatic like Rod Lane. Nancy starts saying how Tina dreamt this was gonna happen, and she had a nightmare that someone was trying to kill her, and that's why they were there. For comfort, Daddy! We get our first shot the next morning of the famous Elm Street house, but no red door yet. That comes in the second film. There's just nothing like a morning hearing the birds chirp, the radio is on, and you pour yourself a nice fresh cup of gin.
Girl.
Yeah, mama is an alcoholic. And there's a great debate of what kind of alcohol she's drinking, but I'm pretty sure it's a fake label. But also a lot of people think that she's drinking vodka for some reason. But I checked the script and it's a bottle of gin. I don't know how uncensored the news was back in the 80s, but they show Tina's body bag with her arm falling out. Like, did y'all just not care? Oh, the reporter says Rod Lane is now the subject of a citywide manhunt. When Nancy walks in the kitchen, her mother rushes to turn off the TV and asks where she thinks she's going. But Nancy must go to school, mother, or else she'll lay in bed and go crazy. And if she needs to sleep, then she'll sleep in study hall. She says this as she starts to lift up Marge's mug to sip her coffee, and Marge quickly swipes it out of her hands. They should have let Nancy sip this so she could like spit it out. That would have been funny. Then Marge would have been like, oh, Nancy, now you're drinking. You got alcohol in your system. No, go upstairs. Go upstairs now. Get into bed. Nancy's walking to school and notices men in black watching her. But after walking another 20 feet or so, he's gone. Got his dirty ass hand all up on my clear skin and precious lips. Nasty. Nancy asks Rod if he actually did it, but he says he never touched her, even though the door was locked from their side. I didn't touch her. Don't look at me like I'm some fucking fruitcake or something. Donald comes out the cut with his gun hot, loaded and ready, warning Rod's steward to step away from his daughter. But Rod makes a run for it, and right as Donald leaps to potentially shoot, Nancy jumps in front of him. Girl, have you lost your damn mind?
'Cause I'll help you find it.
Bro is running down the street barefoot. I know his feet are hot from the sun. Poor baby, but you know, the popo corner him. Look at this waist. Body is tea. I'm trying to get like him. Nancy's like, Daddy, you used me. Then she runs away, and of course his response is like, what the hell were you doing going to school today anyway? Slim, why every time you talk to me, I'm being yelled at or I'm being questioned, talked down on? A young Lynn Shay, horror legend, is talking to the class about how what is seen is not always what is real, quoting Shakespeare's Hamlet. Nancy's zoning out on the brink of sleeping, and when a boy is called up to read a passage, she starts hearing voices. This would have freaked me out. I ain't lying. Nancy sees Tina in a body bag in the hallway, and the kid reading out loud is now ominously staring into space, whispering. When she turns back, there's just a pool of blood on the floor. Baby, we need to wake up. This is not the time to investigate. But she gets up anyway. Tina's legs are picked up and dragged away in a terrifying shot. I mean, this is how you do it. Nancy goes booking down the hall and she runs into a girl with a familiar piece of attire.
Where's your pass? Screw your pass.
Girl, fuck your past. She continues running. There's now leaves in the hallway, and the voice of that creepy man hollers.
Hey, Nancy, no running in the hallway.
Nancy travels all the way down to the boiler room, where she finally comes face to face with the man everybody's talking about. Baby is trapped, and she's gotta find her way out. The score, the track during this scene is called Run Nancy. Go listen to it. Go listen to it. It is good. Nancy's running corners until she's trapped. Baby is stressed out, screaming, "It's only a dream!"
Come to Freddy.
Frederick is so freaky, and then he starts flicking his tongue, and Nancy's like, "God damn you!" Heather is selling it. And this is the first trial of Nancy's final girl status. It's so clever. To wake herself up, she slams her forearm on a pipe next to her, which wakes her up. Galaxy brain, you could never. And she wakes up screaming and flailing around. It's embarrassing. But what's more embarrassing? Dying in your sleep or screaming in the middle of class?
I would rather die.
She leaves the plantation to go home, and I feel for you. I feel for you, girl. Checking her arm, which has a big burn that's pinker than Patrick Starr's bussy. Like, what the hell we gonna do now, y'all? What we gonna do now? She visits Rod at the jailhouse, who's telling her everything that happened in the room the other night, asking logical questions that can only be answered with logical supernatural events. And after she asks, what did he look like? Rod says he couldn't see him. Come on, Nancy, put the pieces together. Mama, look at what just happened at school. Rod starts sharing his dream he had the other night, and now it's finally clicking. So she's like, okay, it's getting a little too real. I'm gonna head out.
Hey, you think I did it?
No.
That night, Nancy is taking a bath, singing the nursery rhyme that those little girls were jump roping to. I don't know why she would repeat it. Are you trying to summon him right now in this moment? Talking about 9, 10, never sleep again, and then you just gonna go ahead and fall asleep in the tub. One of the most recognizable and legendary shots in horror history. That's why I have it on my wall behind me. But you can't see it, unfortunately. Let me move. Can you see it? Fred's hand comes up the water between her legs, but goes under when Marge knocks on the door, telling her not to fall asleep in the tub, because that's how divas drown. And of course, she just falls asleep again. Then she's dragged underwater in this infinity tub, screaming for her mother. A bottomless tub in the bathroom set was built over a swimming pool, and during Heather Langenkamp was replaced with stunt woman Christina Johnson. And get this, Heather spent 12 hours in that tub while they were filming. Huh? By the time Marge gets inside, Nancy's already out. Nan has had enough. She looks in the cabinet and finds some pills to make her stay awake. We don't know how strong they are because she's dozing off shortly after while watching the original Evil Dead. Taste. Wes Craven included the scene because Sam Raimi had featured a poster of Wes's The Hills Have Eyes from 1977. And as a response, Sam had showed Freddy's glove in the tool shed scene of Evil Dead 2 from '87. And later on in Ash vs. the Evil Dead in 2015 in honor of Wes's passing. Nancy looks out her window at the exact moment Glenn pops in, scaring the shit out of her. The way that he's got easy access to her bedroom with this fence and the vines, I would be paranoid that anybody would just climb up and take my booty hole, you know? Nancy asks Glenn if he believes in the Boogeyman, and he says, no. She tells Glenn she's gonna go look for somebody and she wants him to stand guard for her. Now we can't mess up because her life can depend on this. We fade out and see Nancy leave her house, walking along the street in her nightgown. At one point she turns asking Glenn if he's still watching, and the way that he manifests inside her dream is him just peeking out behind a pole. I love that little representation in the dream world because it's blending into what can be perceived as reality. Like, we know she's asleep, but is she? She could just be walking around the street. Nancy ends up all the way at the 5th precinct, finding Rod's cell and catching Fredward walking through metal, touching up on Rod, and then he disappears. She starts seeing her best friend's body again, standing over top of a bunch of big ass slugs or snakes, whatever that is. Yeah. Chica is out here hollering for Glenn to wake her up. Fred starts chasing her, and again, with this fuck ass running, they are killing me, man. It's so ridiculous. Nancy runs all the way back in her house, and when trying to get up the stairs, her feet sink into the carpet. This melting staircase scene, like this concoction on these steps, are made of pancake mix and mushroom soup. When she gets in her room, Glenn is knocked out cold. I would beat his ass when I woke up. Nancy's looking in the mirror on the back of her door and saying, "This is just a dream. This isn't real." The score is so good. They are rolling around on the floor. You can tell Frederick is just playing with her because he could easily have diced this little girl up already, but Nancy is saved from the loud alarm that she set. And I mean, pissed ain't even the word. "Glenn, you bastard. I asked you to do one thing. Just stay awake and watch me. Just wake me up if it looks like I was having a bad dream. And what did you do? You shit! You fell asleep." Glenn rushes out the window because Marge is trying to open her door, coming in boozed out, and tells Nancy to call her if she needs anything. Nancy hollers for Glenn when Mama leaves, and no answer, but a single feather floating. Remember, we saw those feathers in the dream. So how did it get out here in the real world? Nancy grabs Glenn and they run to the jailhouse because this means that Rod is in trouble. The desk cop offers Garcia saying how he took the night shift for peace and quiet, and Nancy is like, "Stop fucking playing with me. This is serious." Inside Rod's cell, an invisible force is tying his sheets, wrapping it around his neck. Donald reveals himself on the late night shift. There's an unsolved murder. Daddy doesn't like unsolved murders. The teens get Donald to retrieve the keys from Garcia, but they're too late because Rod Stewart is hung and unalived. After Rod's funeral, Pop is having a ciggy, and Nan tells her daddy how the killer is still on the loose. He's like, "LOL, silly rabbit, you're saying that somebody else killed Tina? Who?" And at this point in the film, we still don't know who the Joker's name is, but Nancy tells Donald he's burned and he wears a weird hat and a red-green sweater with these knives for giant fingers. Now he just pushed her in the car. The camera pans on both of the adults as she's saying all this, describing him. So y'all know something. Don't front now. Donald orders Marge to keep her home so she can get some rest, but Margie's got something better up her sleeve. And no, it's not a bottle. She takes Nancy to an institution for sleep disorders. They're connecting all these wires on her, and Nancy's like, "I don't see why y'all just couldn't give me a pill to keep me from dreaming." But the doc says everybody has to dream. If you don't dream, you go. They get her to calm down enough to relax and go through with the procedure. Nothing showing up on her EEG while she slips into the void, so the doc tells Marge what he sees before him is just a girl who went through 2 days of hell. Nancy officially slips into deep sleep where beta waves start slowing, then enters REM, where she's confirmed dreaming. On the screen, he says a nightmare would be a +5, but right now, she's at a 3. Bro spoke too soon because Nancy starts twitching, tweaking, and the machine is going berserk. They run in the room with her thrashing around, and they try to give her a little pokey, but she pushes him back like, "Get that shit away from me." Nancy has a slash on her arm. A large streak of her hair is gray from the stress. Frederick is putting my girl through it. And under the covers, she pulls out a hat that she grabbed off his head and pulled out of her dream. Look at Marge. She's like, "I need a drink." Another day, Nancy comes downstairs, overhearing Marge telling Donald about the hat over the phone. But she hangs up when she sees Nancy, also trying to hide the bottle as if we all don't know you drink. Come on now. Boozy Marge is like, "Little girl, I don't know where you found that filthy thing or what you're trying to prove." Like, huh? Nancy's trying to tell this wench that Rod didn't unalive anybody. He didn't unalive himself, and it's this guy that's after them in their dreams. That's just not reality, Mama says. And even though Marge said that she threw that filthy thing away, talking about the hat, Nancy just pulls it out the drawer right next to them. First of all, why you put this dirty ass hat in my kitchen, in my drawer next to my fridge? Nancy's holding his hat like, "It's real, Mama. Feel it. It's even got his name written in it. Fred Krueger. Do you know who that is, Mother? Because if you do, you better tell me, because he's after me now." Marge is telling Nancy she just needs to get some sleep and trust her mother. But how the hell am I gonna trust my mother if 1, you sitting here lying in my face, and 2, you always got this damn bottle next to you? Get that shit.
You call this feeling better? Maybe I should grab that bottle and veg out with you. Avoid everything happening to me by just getting good and loaded.
Nancy, I know you frustrated, but watch the mouth. Watch the mouth. It's still your mother. Marge tells her daughter that Fred can't come after her because he's dead. So you knew about him the entire time and you were acting like this is something I made up? She calls Nancy sick. She's imagining things. She'll feel better when she's asleep. It's as simple as that. Now, what if she choked this little girl out for throwing her $45 bottle on the ground? Gangsta bitch. She tosses the hat at her mother, grabs her jacket, and leaves. And you know what? Even though Marge is an alcoholic, she looks good. She looks damn good. The hair is on, the face is on. She's functioning. She is functioning. She may have a few drinks every day, but one thing she's gonna do is serve. Nancy goes on the town with her man, who brings up the Balinese way of dreaming, saying that they have systems full of dream skills. For example, if you're having a nightmare like falling, instead of screaming and going nuts, you say, okay, I'm gonna make up my mind and fall into a magic world. Make it something special like a poem or a song. He says they all get their art and literature from dreams. Just wake up and write it down. Dream skills. So Nancy says, okay, what if you meet a monster in your dream? Well, you turn your back on it. Take away its energy and it disappears. She's got a book in her hands about improvised anti-personnel devices and booby traps.
Well, what are you reading that for?
I'm into survival.
Amen. Kevin McAllister was taking notes. When Nancy gets home after sunset, we see this. Oh my God, this woman installed bars on every window in the house. The devil works hard, but Marge Thompson works 10 times harder. She even knocked down the vines and the fence that leads to Nancy's room. Goddamn. The way Marge walks out the kitchen and she lights her cigarette, it's Nancy asks her what's with the bars and Marge says security.
Security from what?
Right. She opens the basement door and tells Nancy to come down to the cellar so she can tell her. Marge opens a wood stove and begins telling Nancy about Fred Krueger, a child murderer who killed at least 20 kids in the neighborhood. She takes a wrapped object out the wood stove before Nancy asks if they put Fred away. But unfortunately, the lawyers got fat, judges got famous, and somebody forgot to sign the search warrant, and Krueger was a free man just like that. A bunch of the Elm Street parents tracked Krueger down after they let him out, found him in an old abandoned boiler room where he used to take his kids, and they took a tank of gasoline, put it all over the place, and made a trail at the door before lighting the whole thing up and watching it burn.
He can't get you now. He's dead, honey, because Mommy killed him.
She unwraps the item in her hands and reveals the finger knives, telling Nancy that she can sleep now. I learned that this scene was originally extended, and Marge was supposed to go into detail about Krueger not dying instantly in the fire. Just like a demon out of hell, burning and frantic, Krueger was supposed to burst from his basement, consumed in flames, threatening the parents and swearing revenge. And it was Marge who actually took a gun and shot Fred dead. This next shot is one of my favorites in the film. I want to recreate this entire still one year for Halloween. So bad. Glenn is in this crop jersey laying in bed when Boo Boo Bear calls him. We are coming up on the 7th day that Nancy has not been asleep. Apparently a record at the time was 11 days. I mean, I get it, but how do you do that? I mean, at what point what day do you even start hallucinating? Nancy tells Glenn she knows who the killer is, and if he gets her, then she's pretty sure that Glenn is next. So bro is like, why would anybody want to kill me? What the hell did I do? Nancy tells Glenn she's gonna need his help bringing him out of her dream, and of course he's saying you can't do that, but Nancy brought his hat out of her dream, so now what? My bitch got powers. But if she can't bring him out, she says that they can all relax because she's just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Her plan is for Glenn to cold cock this guy when she brings him out.
What?
Don't make me say it. Don't, Glendale, don't make me say it. I know how you straight men get mad when somebody call you. Don't make me say it. And what's not clicking? Nancy grabs him in her dream. You see her struggling, so you wake her up. They both come out of the dream. You whack the fucker and you got him.
Are you crazy? Hit him with what?
But what did you say at the beginning of the film, Glendale?
I'm gonna punch out your ugly lights, whoever you are.
You know what I'm gonna say? Stop acting like a bitch. God damn. If you on my team, you need to be trained to go. Word. Nancy tells Glenn the bitch to use his baseball bat since he's a jock and meet her on the porch shortly. And meanwhile, whatever you do, don't fall asleep. I'm trying to figure out why Glenn is in bed with his shoes on, but never mind that, because this is the most incompetent boyfriend in the genre. He falls asleep. His mother wakes him up, telling him to go to bed since it's almost midnight. Imagine someone waking you up from sleeping to go to bed. Marge is trying to put Nancy to bed, saying that the nightmare is over, then takes her mug and coffee pot, leaving the room. But guess what, ho? She's got a backup under her nightstand. Nancy goes in her closet, changes shirts, and peeks across the street where Glenn's parents are watching. Mr. Lance tells his wife that Nancy is a lunatic, but Mama says Marge is just being cautious and to leave them alone. But Mr. Lance says, I don't want that kid hanging around with our son anymore. Time is only ticking and Nancy is getting more impatient, so she grabs her jacket and tries to leave, until she notices her mother in the hallway with another hidden bottle in the blanket closet. What the hell? Why are you hiding this? But once again, we all know that you are drinking, Marjorie. Nancy calls Glenn, but he's in dreamland, so Mama Lance answers, and Mr. Lance snatches the phone, leaving it off the hook and ordering his wife to get her ass upstairs. So, babe, Nancy's freaking out. She's like, Glenn, don't fall asleep. But the phone rings again, and Nancy hears Fredward screeching. Damn, girl. Now, what if Glenn actually tries to call now? What the hell?
When you see me when you see me in the streets. That's all I'm gonna say to you, bitch. You know what I look like, and I know what you look like. So when you see me, just be ready for that handwork. That's all I'm gonna say, bitch.
No, just kidding. It's Frederick.
I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy.
He is so nasty. Like, you can't wait till I'm 18?
Oh, that's no.
In the sense that, you know.
But hold on, what did he say? Boyfriend. Oh my God. Glenn! Nancy books downstairs, but the front door is locked. Marge is on the couch as Nancy is trying to open the door, and she's like, locked, locked, locked. Nancy, you are going to get sleep tonight, even if it kills me. Our next scene is probably the most famous, right after Tina's death. We are back to Glenn's room, who is counting sheep, and the camera zooms out all the way until... Frederick yanks Skinny Minnie into the bed and spits out blood. Nancy screaming Glenn's name frustrated, and Miss Lance comes in after hearing Glenn screams, but she's too late. If Glenn's death taught us anything, it's that a bad night's sleep can be fatal. But thankfully, this video is sponsored by Manta Sleep, the opposite of a nightmare. Manta's high quality masks are part of the pro nap movement, which, yes, is a real thing. And of the 4 main masks, I've chosen the Manta Sleep Mask Pro. And when I tell you this thing has changed the way I sleep, I am serious. I mean it. I've always had a problem with waking up multiple times through the night, and I don't know why. It just never occurred to me to try a sleeping mask, but this thing is dark. This thing blocks everything out. You know, light doesn't just affect how we sleep, it runs the whole show. I don't care if it's the sun, if it's street lights, electronics, LED clocks. Any bit of light can mess with your melatonin production. You can put these masks on facing a boiling sun and you will not see a single ray. I'm telling y'all, you need this now. It's awesome. It does make a difference. It's honestly become a habit to wear this every single night. It's fully adjustable, the soft cushion on the eyes. It's quite designed for laying on your side, like there's no pressure anywhere. So whether you're a light sleeper, a frequent traveler, or you just need to dissociate in style, this mask gets it. Click the link in my description and use my code DREAMWARRIOR for 10% off, because sleep should be peaceful. Unless you're in a Wes Craven film. Much thanks to Manta Sleep for sponsoring this video. Now, let's get back to Elm Street. Nancy knows what happened to her boyfriend, and she waves to her father from her little barred jail cell after the cops arrive. There's a deleted scene showing the aftermath of Glenn's death. You can even see a production assistant pouring fake blood on him in behind the scenes pics. But after the blood finishes pouring, his body originally was supposed to rise up and then drop. But I'm so glad they didn't use this, because this just looks stupid to me. I don't know. I think it works better with just the blood coming and then that's it. According to Wes, he said that all the blood in the bed was from Freddy's other victims. And what happened was that Glenn had drowned found in it. Like, that is not him in there. Because, I mean, first of all, nobody has that much blood in them. The pressure was also on for Glenn's death, not only because the blood effect was complicated, but because they had only one take to do it. The room was the same rotating one used in Tina's death, and they flipped it upside down after the crew carved out the middle of the bed and poured in gallons of blood-colored water. Craven was strapped into a camera chair and he gave the word go, and as cinematographer Jacques Haitkin explains in the Never Sleep Again documentary, when the crew dumped the water through the hole, as soon as it touched the ceiling and hit a light, it electrified the water, so the guy pouring the water was electrocuted. The water also began sloshing from side to side, and that was screwing with the weight of the room. It was a mess. The room rolled all the way over. Crew members were leaping out the way. Wes recounted the water going into all the lights, and there were huge flashes in the dark as everyone just spun with these sparks. The wall had a window in it, and the blood poured out onto the operators who were desperately trying to regain control of the room. When the room finally stopped rocking, and once all the liquid poured out, the crew were still attached to the structure, suspended upside down for around 20 minutes in the dark and covered in blood. You can even see the water turn at an angle, which is the entire room weight being shifted. Nancy calls her father saying she's got a proposition. She's gonna go get the guy who did this, and she wants Donald to be there to arrest him. She tells him to break the door down in exactly 20 minutes, enough time for Nancy to fall asleep and find him. Donald commands one of his cops to watch Nancy's house and report anything funny, just as a montage of Nancy setting up booby traps around her house begins. Marge formally apologizes to her daughter for not telling her about Krueger. She didn't see how much Nancy needed to know and was just trying to protect her.
You face things. That's your nature. That's your gift. But sometimes you have to turn away too.
Nancy tells Mama she loves her and to get some sleep. Okay, Krueger, we play in your court, Nancy says, before preparing for bed and saying her prayers. And the 10-minute timer is set. Nancy goes downstairs, heads to the basement, and checks the wood stove, but his glove is gone. Where does at? She finds another door within the basement that takes her into a boiler room. The dream world is really kicking in now. How you just, when you're sleeping, you just go from one location to the next like it's nothing. Nancy goes deeper and deeper within the bowels of the boiler, screaming, "Krueger! I'm here! Come out, ho!" It looks like she found his bedroom. This Joker just be collecting stuff. He's got Rod's pocket knife, Tina's crucifix, a hoarder. Electric stingers rise as we see Krueger's glove. And as much as I want to say he got Jeepers Creepers little outline here, but this was way before that movie. It's not until Nancy sees Glenn's headphones that just struck a nerve, boy. She's like, "Come out and show yourself, bastard!" Frederick comes out the cut, chasing her. They run down the steps, and Nancy's now on the ledge, screaming before jumping off, which forms into her jumping down from her house. Nancy's in her front yard going off, screaming, "Where are you, you bitch? I know you here." The watch on her arm is counting down, and she's got 7 seconds to grab this man. And just like magic, he reveals himself under the fence. Nancy hops on him like white on rice, but when she wakes up, all that's on her is the fence.
I'm crazy after all.
Nancy smashes Fred's head with the glass, dipping out the room, connecting a wire to the doorknob, yelling, "Get the door, Krueger! Come and get me! Come get the kitty!" Nancy opens a window in another bedroom, screaming for Donald. "Daddy, I got him! I got him trapped! Help me!"
Everything's gonna be alright! Everything's under control!
Get my back, you asshole!
Nancy runs downstairs, takes an umbrella, and smashes the window on the door, still screaming for Donald to hurry the hell up before Fred slices her kitty. Krueger gets the door open and is blown in the chest, falls over a rail directly down the steps and right by Nancy. She hops over him like, "Come on, you old bitch, can't you catch me? Come on."
"I'm gonna split you into two,"
he says. But he can't, because he tripped over another wire that explodes a nearby object and knocks him down. Nancy breaks another window, screaming for her daddy, who still isn't here because of that inadequate porker. I mean, damn, you would think Nancy was like, what, a black person, with the way these cops are just taking their time. Freddy gets back up, so shit! Nancy books down the basement, grabbing her traps. They run in a circle, and she sprinkles a big bottle of gasoline on him. Lights a match and runs back upstairs. Okay, this is one of the funniest moments in the film. I have this meme, this like little clip of her running up these stairs. Why does she run up like that? It's so funny. Nancy knocks Freddy back down the steps with the door, then runs to the front door for Daddy. If she did not set these traps, like it would fish platter. We would be having fish for dinner. They shot Freddy being lit on fire in one take with multiple cameras around the basement, and supposedly at the time this was like the most elaborate fire scene ever filmed. The cop finally, after, the blue moon has passed, gets inside. The basement door is wide open, but Fred is not there. This dude ran in a circle, like when they all got in there, and ran to the basement, and we can see his like big ass fire steps going all the way upstairs to Marge's room. This dude is choking Marge. Oh my God. Nancy grabs a chair like, ah! Donald grabs a sheet, puts out the fire, and when he pulls it off,
Under the chemtrails, over the country club.
Nancy is gonna have a lot of gray hair by the time this is all over, boy, I tell you. She tells Donald she's okay and to go downstairs. She'll be there in a minute. The bedroom door shuts on its own and she whips around just as Freddy comes rising out the sheets. I know you're there, Freddy. And it's too late because she knows the secret. You're not alive and this is just a dream. I want my friends and my family back, you bald bitch.
I take back every bit of energy I gave you.
After that line, she turns her back on him and she says, you're nothing, you're shit. Nancy grabs the doorknob and Fred leaps forward to backstab her, but he dissipates. When Nancy walks through the door, she's now outside on a new day. Mama is alive and it's a little too bright and too glamorous. Something is off. And you especially know something is off because Marge is talking about she gonna stop drinking. Who are you fooling here? Tina's friends roll up in Glenn's red whip, and when the hood comes down, on it is red and green stripes. Stole my drip, Glenn. The windows go up on its own and Marge is grinning, waving by before we see the little girls jump roping. Skinny. Why do we dream? A question that may never be answered. Memory consolidation is one of the most popular. The belief that sleep is the process of moving short-term information to long-term memory, as if the brain is replaying and processing past experiences. Sigmund Freud's theory points to the unconscious mind showing our desires and repressed wishes through symbolism and metaphor. Some also believe that dreaming is a threat simulation, preparing us for real-world obstacles. Then there's some who think that we go to different universes, parallels. I've met so many people in my life who say that they don't dream. Like, huh? And they claim it's just black. I mean, I can go to sleep for 5 minutes. I can take a nap and I will dream of something, no matter what it is. If I am not conscious, I am dreaming of something. What does that say? Well, I don't know, but the average person dreams 5 to 6 times a night, and the length of these dreams are anywhere between 5 to 20 or so minutes. I'm still waiting for the day that technology advances where we can see like our dreams from a POV shot on a screen or a monitor, but I don't know if that would ever actually happen, like how we would even be able to do that. So I don't know, and if it is, it's gonna be long. Me and you gonna be long gone. Okay, so no matter what's going on in your life, sleep is the only thing, not only necessary for a healthy life, but it's one of the main solutions we turn to for a safe haven. Dreaming is the last safe space you run to get away from the hardships and depression of the life experience. And in the Elm Street dream world, that's corrupted by this slimy bastard Frederick. Rest is so important, not only hitting the restart button, not only giving us fuel, but in a horror film specifically, that is vital. Like you need your rest, you need your energy, babe. So you telling me if I go to sleep, I'm gonna be instead of resting, I'm gonna be fighting for my life? Huh? That goes against our very biology. But lucid dreaming, which I haven't done in what feels like years, that's what our hero Nancy does. That's what she figures out. You have to be a tough bitch to go after something like Mr. Krueger, you know, where the battle isn't physical but mental. And mental abuse, mental struggle, in my opinion, is 10 times harder than physical. You can go crazy, you can lose yourself, you lose your sense of identity, time, whatever. My point is, to go up against Frederick, you need charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Okay? I mean, setting up traps to then capture this fool and bring him out into the real world, it's quite ambitious, and you gotta be a little bit delusional, and that's exactly what Nancy's parents and the adults alike thought of her. When you're sleep deprived, which she was, you start hallucinating. What the mind creates and makes up when in this territory makes such a nice playground for this entire premise, because it all very well could just be in Nancy's head, and as we saw in the final scene, she's still dreaming. And just expanding on how powerful the mind is. A theme that this franchise tackles is manifestation, and how when you give so much energy to something, it basically creates itself. We're only talking about the first film here, so I won't go too much into the other films in case you haven't seen them, but the belief of Freddy Krueger is what kept him alive for so long. I briefly talked about this with my Candyman video, which is an urban legend where you say his name 5 times in the mirror and he appears. Daniel Robitaille is another supernatural villain, and his power was drawn from the collective fear of those who believed in him. And it's the same thing with Freddy. When Nancy turned her back on him and said she was taking back all the energy she gave him, she stripped that motherfucker down to his pistachio nuts and made him nothing. Nancy was doing more than surviving. She was fighting smart. In the original script, the movie ended happily. Nancy kills Krueger by ceasing to believe in him, then awakes to discover everything that happened in the movie was an elongated nightmare. I don't love that, but the thing is that this was 1984, and I think the reason I don't love it is because we've seen it so much throughout the next few decades. Nancy was supposed to just say goodbye to her mother and drive to school with her homies. However, head of New Line, Robert Shea, wanted a twist ending that would leave the way open for sequels. Wes hated this ending, and ultimately 4 endings were filmed. Craven's happy ending, Shea's Freddy ending, and 2 versions of a compromised ending both Craven and Shea had reached, in which Nancy's mother is pulled back into the house, but the audience is left slightly ambiguous as to what's going on. But Pop has always said, you know, it should have ended the way that he wanted, where it was just a dream. Wes did a beautiful job with the small, simple set pieces showing how dreams defy gravity and logic. The bathtub of doom, the pancake mix stairs, Tina the airbender, the blood bidet bed, how the dream world slips into reality as Nancy just casually walks or leaps into different settings and environments. Dreaming is so weird. One minute you're in your childhood bedroom, and then you open the door and you're in the strip club, then you're at the beach, then you're in a bathhouse. It's like weird. I would have loved to see David Lynch direct one of the Elm Street films, like later on. Both him and Craven have passed on, rest in peace, to 2 cinematic legends. But imagine, oh, it would be too much. It would be too much for this world. Marge and her inseparable bottle of gin aren't explored in depth, but the trauma speaks for itself. She clearly drinks because of whatever happened with her divorce between her and Donald. I'd say as well as burning a man alive, and in a scrapped backstory, being the one to shoot this child predator dead. There's a deleted scene where we learn that Nancy and her friends from the neighborhood weren't always only children.
Glenn, Rod, Tina, they all had a brother or sister once. You too, Nancy. You weren't always an only child.
They should have kept this in my opinion. I think that it would have added more weight, specifically with Nancy, and why Fred's attention and aggression is mainly on her. The parents are the reason that all of this is happening, but I mean, hey, if a man was let go just like that after claiming lives of all the neighborhood kids, any group of parents would no doubt gather around and hunt him down. Come on. In the original script, Freddy was a child molester. However, the decision was made to change him into a child unaliver to avoid accusations of exploiting a series of children-related molestations in California around the time of production. But for that god-awful 2010 remake, they brought back Freddy the PDF file, and that was one of the biggest problems people had with the film. All that stuff is implied in the original films. Like, we don't need to see it front and center. we know, like I said, I think my personal favorite version of Freddy lies somewhere between part 2 and I'll throw part 3 in there. I think that part 2 Freddy was at his most mean, and part 3 was the comfort zone when his final and most recognizable form came in. Aside with all the jokes slipping through, I don't know, there's just something about his design in the first film feels very first stage, which in a way it was. Freddy's sweater was originally supposed to be red and yellow based on the colors worn by Plastic Man, who, like Freddy, could change his form, and they wanted to do this concept that whatever Freddy morphed into would also only be red and yellow. But as fans of this franchise know, Wes read an article in Scientific American in 1982 that said the most contrasting colors to the human retina were red and green, so he decided to alter the colors, even though in almost every film it's really not recognizable because of lighting and the fact that the green on the sweater is very, very dark. The inspiration for the character of Freddy came from several sources in Wes's childhood. Fred Krueger was a schoolmate of his who bullied him for several years. Freddy's burns came from a man with severe burn scars that scared Wes, and the attire, the dirty clothes and the hat.
I think about 7 years old, I was just about to fall asleep and I heard this shuffling down the sidewalk and went to the window. I was in a second-story apartment, living with my family in Cleveland, and there was this man that looked pretty much like Freddy ended up looking. I assume now he was probably a drunk, but at that time he was just this dark man. And he stopped and he happened to look directly up into the window and right into my eyes. Now, I don't know how he knew to stop, how he knew a kid was watching, but somehow he did. It just stopped my breath in my throat. I backed away from the window with him just staring at me until he couldn't see me and stood back there in the shadows and counted, And I don't know what I counted to, 100 or 200 or whatever, but I didn't hear him and I thought he must have gone by now. I would have heard him, but he couldn't just be standing there. And I went back and he was there and he just went, like this with this big leer. And then he sort of capped himself by starting to walk down the sidewalk, still looking over his shoulder at me, and then turned the corner and walked towards the entrance of our building, which was out of my sight. But so I remember running through the house, dark house, and going to the front door, putting my ear to it, and hearing the door downstairs open, the door to the lobby of the building. Whereupon I woke up everybody in the house, everybody in the apartment, and my brother went down with a baseball bat. And by the time I had awakened everybody, this guy had disappeared. But that memory became the essence of Freddy, because that guy, whoever the hell he was, enjoyed scaring the shit out of a kid. That extrapolating that and taking that to the nth degree, I think you have the kind of mentality of older men that can send young men off to war.
There is a reason that Pop Pop is considered one of the grandfathers of horror. This man caught lightning in a bottle not once, but twice. He birthed one of the most significant and recognizable villains in horror history, and secondly, he directed a film that completely revived the genre in the late 90s when it was dying. Although Kevin Williamson wrote Scream, Wes was the one who, like I said, brought it to the screen with his vision. And a precursor to Scream, New Nightmare from '94, a very meta film that audiences did not appreciate at the time. Fantastic. That one takes the entire franchise and makes it an in-universe thing with the actors playing themselves. Who was doing it like Craven? And that film also, as I brought up moments ago, plays with the idea of how we manifest things by believing in them. The version of Freddy in New Nightmare is a collective evil, a demon that just takes the shape of the character of Freddy. Horror does not get any more primal than the premise of being in danger in a state where we naturally are supposed to be peaceful and tranquil. Texas Chainsaw, fearing rural isolation. Candyman, fearing the mirror. The Ring, fearing cursed media. Get Out, fearing racism. Final Destination, fearing fate and death. Saw, fearing moral punishment. It Follows, fearing the consequences of intimacy. This film and its sequels are only but a big consequence of these teenagers' parents, barely receiving help from the very adults who play a part in why this is all happening, and these kids are forced to enter the battleground alone that is their own mind. So, moral of the story, bitch, I don't know, don't fall asleep, don't trust adults, and maybe don't live on a street with a body count. Sweet dreams, bitch. What are some of your earliest memories, not only with this movie, but this entire franchise? Do you have any favorite lines, any favorite one-liners? Have you seen Frederick in your dreams before? And if so, tell us about it. Get a conversation going. If you enjoyed this video, give your man a like, it helps me out a lot. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I would love to have you. If you don't, I'll be in your dreams. In the meantime, Dream Warriors, Take care of your mind, take care of your body, and take care of your spirit. And whatever you do, don't fall asleep.